Hi everybody, it's Paul Robinson here. I am going to be speaking with Surfraz. Just a little bit about me. I'm a Java dev by background, so I'm currently doing a bit of technical leadership on the current project. Surfraz is battle-hardened DevOps, so come and speak to him afterwards if you want some war stories. He's got them all. Just a little bit about us. I'll keep this short because Louis mentioned it. We're a company of about 200 people. We only formed in 2007. What we do is we've got, the quote is, we employ old guys who care about shit. That's the, that's the quote. So a load of experienced associates, experts in web and mobile, geeks throughout, and a real sort of focus on open source software and actually contributing back as well. We've made the tech track. If you ever read the Times, we've made the tech track and done really well there. And one of our recent projects, we're an exemplar project on GDS. So I don't know whether you've seen any of the InfoQ presentations. Those guys are doing some really cool stuff, and we're part of that. So what I wanted to talk about today was some of the challenges of introducing DevOps. We had a quick sort of hands up in the air. There's a few DevOps people here. For the people who aren't DevOps, have we got management here? Have we got operations? Have we got CTOs, CEOs? What have we got? We've got a few people. Yeah. So managers, any management? Okay, yeah, good. Any operations or sysops? Yeah. And any QAs, devs? Oh really? No devs, QAs. That's because we're all DevOps, obviously. So the big thing that you hear about DevOps is it's really associated with the cloud. So what I thought I'd do is I'd just give a quote from Werner Vogels. I've seen a presentation by him. He's a really impressive guy. One thing that he really keeps on banging on about is just how much everything fails. It fails all the time, literally every time. And with their data center, they're running the biggest cloud in the world, so you can imagine the sorts of things that are going wrong in their data center. The obvious response to that is everybody's going to move to the cloud. We've got hundreds of thousands of servers, and we're in a good position. And this is what happens when you get to that stage. I like that slide. So obviously the challenge is how do we avoid that? What I thought I'd do is I'd have a look around some of the Puppet Labs reports. It might be difficult to see, but I'll just call this out. Some of the biggest difficulties in implementing DevOps are around the value statement. It's not understood outside my group. Common management structure, tooling, and not having the time to implement, or don't have the support. So effectively, there's a tooling, there's a management, and then there's an influence kind of theme. And down at the bottom, those who don't do it, lack of manager buy-in. So I'm glad that some of the management are here. This is for you guys as well as the DevOps guys. So effectively, what we need to do is avoid misperceptions with DevOps. There's many promises, as we've heard, and what we're looking to do is to ensure that we do it right. If we do get this buy-in, then we really do need buy-in from across the business. So with this slide, really I just wanted to get the important thing that you really do need buy-in right at the senior management level, because there's a budgetary impact here. So effectively, if you're buying servers and things like that, then that's a capital expenditure. With cloud and virtual machines and that sort of architecture, you move into much more of an operational expenditure, and businesses need to be aware of that, which is why it goes right up to the top. What you're looking to do is build an innovation center, which really requires right up at the top, again, you're aligning objectives. So right the way down, we say we're going to do this, and these are the benefits, and the objectives then feed into all of the teams that that deliver the business value, effectively the dollars that we heard about before. In terms of tooling, I thought what I'd say is you've really got to invest in continuous integration. If you don't know what that is, then you don't really know what DevOps is, because it's really the starting point before DevOps. Invest in virtualization, private and public cloud. Public cloud's the easiest one, but lots of businesses don't want to invest in public cloud, or they're worried about security. So private cloud is an alternative. It's a bit more in terms of time to implement, but it's a good outcome. The people who are the experts in continuous integration are the devs and QAs. So as we were talking about in the previous one, collaborating with the devs is only going to give you some virtuous cycles. And what you need to do is just work with devs really to ensure that applications are simply configured and monitored, and then working with architecture. So one of the things with DevOps is, since you're moving to a cloud kind of architecture, you really do need to think about whether the architecture that you've currently got is actually the right thing. So given that everything fails all the time, maybe putting it on an Oracle database isn't exactly the best thing. So speak to the architects, and we heard a bit about microservices, some of the other architectural techniques, service-oriented architecture, async, event-driven, and shared nothing. And then related to the beers is pizzas as well. So we've had a pyramid, now we've got a flower. I like this because it reminds me of my daughter. What I wanted to do here is just kind of go in and talk about the things, the concerns of each of these people. We've got some management people in here. We might have site reliability engineering or change management. These are the things that people are really concerned with. What I would say is that the devs and the QAs are probably the easiest people to persuade, because they're the ones who actually want to see their stuff go live. So if you tell them you can get their stuff live quicker, faster, more often, then they're only going to be delighted. Similarly for the QAs. I think on this slide, the people that you really do need to persuade are the architects and the change management people, who are obviously interested in controlling change, and are concerned about how that ties into their concerns. But I suppose the point here is DevOps is really right in the center of things. You're really the catalyst for the business, and the business, as a result, they can predict when features are going to go live. They can align the sales and marketing. Productivity will go up, which equals dollars, and it equals competitive advantage as well. And you're fostering collaboration. It then feeds through into hiring, and then I've already mentioned the OPEX and the CAPEX thing. This slide is impossible to see, but it's a really good one. You should go down and have a look at this. It's on InfoQ, and it's about the continuous delivery maturity model. Effectively, what I wanted to say here was, again, just a repeat of continuous integration is the base. So if we look at this column on the left, what that sort of indicates is basic agile sort of, or even just continuous integration best practice. If I just highlight the build and deploy, version code bases, scripted builds, basic something builds, I can't even read it myself. A dedicated build server, so something like Jenkins, documented manual deploys, some deployment scripts, and then if you look at test and execution, test and verification, it's automatic unit tests and separated test environment. So that's just really the absolute basics. To go on to DevOps, what we're really trying to do is introduce much more automation, as we've heard, to introduce monitoring, to really think about the things that change management, site reliability engineering want, and architecture want. So if I just call out some of the things that you should be thinking about to get to an expert level, is automated integration tests, automatic component tests, Automatic acceptance tests, working with the BAs effectively. You might think about behavior-driven development, for example, get those guys to even start writing tests themselves if they're that advanced. Full automatic acceptance tests and automatic performance tests and security tests. That's the next level. What you're really trying to do is get to the situation where your releases are going out every week, for example. And in order to do that, you can't have bottlenecks. That's just something that I wanted to have a look at. I suggest you just download the slides and have a look at that. That's great. Okay, I'm going to hand over to.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Okay, so Paul's kind of described some of the more business-focused aspects to DevOps. So I'm just going to cover some of the technical investments you can make to improve your DevOps strategy within your organization. So one of the key aspects of DevOps is you must build a pipeline. So whichever methodology you're using for project management, for software development, there's always a pipeline, even if it's not explicitly defined. So one of the key features of DevOps is its close integration with agile methodologies. And with agile methodologies, one of the key features is the fast feedback loop you get. So for example, if you're developing code and you're integrating that code and you're working in a team, the last thing you want to see is a few days before go live, all the bugs start coming out. So one of the key features is build a pipeline which provides you with a fast feedback loop. That's quite crucial. The fast feedback loop should actually begin on the developer's machine itself, and then so on the developer's machine you have unit testing and so on. And as each developer commits their code into a central repository, you'll get so once each developer has committed their code, ideally you'd have a continuous integration system which would take the code, take the commit, and build that from scratch and run several automated test suites against it. So this will help because it'll help to weed out any easy to capture bugs very early on. One of the key features here is of DevOps is to reduce the failure rate of software deployment and software development. Okay, so another key feature is, along with agile methodologies, to make sure that everyone within the organization or everyone within the team and maybe even surrounding teams knows full well, what you're producing, how much progress you're making. So one of the key features is ensure that your KPIs and the work that you've achieved is actually visible to the wider team and also to other teams around as well. It helps to create a buzz around what you're doing. It helps people to notice that you're actually making progress. When there is a failure, there's no shame in actually showing that failures do occur. The key thing here is to make sure that your processes are tight enough to capture those early on in the cycle and fix them wherever possible. Okay, so there's quite a few things to avoid. So at the bottom of the slide, you can see just a selection. There's many things to avoid, but this is just a small selection. So some of the key features are: avoid the manual process, as has already been mentioned. Don't go into your dev and test environments and start fiddling with config files and so on. Make sure everything's automated very early on. As well as the easy stuff, make sure some of the hardest stuff is automated. Make sure you're monitoring your dev and test environments. There's nothing worse than missing a key failure because no one's watching the log file, and then having your system fail when it goes into production. Also, avoid having a single person within the team who knows the infrastructure and nobody else knows it. Make sure you share that knowledge within the team, so you can do that using various methods like peering and so on. Tools for the job, there are many out there. One of the key features, I think, for um, tools is that they should be as reliable as possible, as easy to deploy as possible, simple for anyone within the team to understand and be able to use. So we've got some here, some classics. You probably know these already. Ubuntu is one um, is the OS of choice where in our team. One of the features we like is that there's no licensing overhead. You don't have to install a licensing server before you get started. It does a lot of things for you, so you don't have to go fiddling with mundane stuff within the operating system. It's very easy to install packages. The package repositories are up to date, and it just generally works without giving you a lot of hassles. Puppet Labs and Chef are key components, so configuration management and deployment, making sure all your environments are consistent and everyone knows that whenever they test code, it's being tested on an environment which is being built automatically rather than individually by different people who may have different configurations. There's several other things here. Jenkins, continuous integration platform, very important. Logstash, monitor early. Make sure you monitor very early in the process and monitor continuously throughout the process. Make sure that your code repositories are very clear to everyone. Everyone knows where to get the latest code from. Everything is clearly defined. So you've got things like Artifactory and Nexus, which are code repositories. Together with Jenkins, it helps to make sure that what's happening is actually visual. So you can create dashboards based around Jenkins and so on. And right at the center is Git Configuration Management for your code. This is key and links into so many different applications that really you need to build your entire development process around Git, in my opinion. Okay, so the end results are, once you have a DevOps methodology in place, one of the key features to look for is the deployment cycle is much reduced, the failure rates are much reduced. So one of the key things you can see from the large companies that deploy very fast and deploy very quickly is that they have a very short cycle time. So if there's a feature that needs to be made live or a bug that needs to be fixed, they're very quick at fixing that. So that's one of the key outcomes of having a good DevOps methodology. Also, you end up with a higher performing organization, more money, and so on. Okay, so there's many sites out there. Here's just a very small selection of some sites which will be useful to have a look at and to read through. And that's it. So we're equal experts. We're hiring. Please come and speak to us. We've got Paul here. We've got Louis here. We've got Martin. We've got a few other people around the room. So please come and talk to us. Thanks a lot.